So essentially everything I said in my last video was completely wrong. Yippee, hello. So, a new Mizi comic came out the day that I posted, my last video, and I had a full section of that video where I talked about how, I concede the fact that Mizi did not know, about the truth about ALNST. Wrong! Also, I want this one commenter to know that I see your comments. I do see them. I mean, I responded to all of them, but I know that it's the same person every time, and they, are very adamant that I'm wrong about everything. And I just want them to know that I see you. I see you, and you really don't have to keep making comments disagreeing with every single thing that I say. There's the choice to scroll. So hi, if you see this, if you're so obsessed that you go onto my YouTube page. Okay. So anyways, Mizi in the latest comic was cool as hell. That's like literally the best way to phrase that. She was cool as hell, and I love her so much. And I still stand by the fact that everything that she experiences throughout ALNST as we see it is genuine. She did want to tie with Sua. Like, that was the plan. And that is also probably why she has that whole, like, I didn't expect you to die there, I wouldn't have stood around like a fool if I knew you were going to die, Like, I think she genuinely thought that she was going to tie with Sua and genuinely wanted to continue living with her. Despite having nefarious intentions at the start of the relationship. I actually saw an analysis video about the comic that was really well written. I have no clue who made it, but they have a TikTok, and I'm pretty sure their name on TikTok is like #1 Chiaki Nanami lover, as like their display name. I don't know what their username is, but in that video they were talking about how this is Mizi going back and feeling survivor's guilt for the fact that she's alive and Sua died, and she's thinking about the bad intentions that she had going into their relationship, and ignoring the fact that she did genuinely feel love for Sua. She wanted a sense of control. That's 1,000% what it is. Shine, her guardian, who sucks, who everyone should have known sucked, because Shine is a guardian. Shine literally owned Mizi, and like also something that always made me a little about Shine was the fact that before we knew that Mizi knew about ALNST, I was thinking, like, why did Shine let Mizi go onto ALNST without knowing the details of it? Mizi didn't know the details of it, so that contradicts that point. But in the same comic, we find out how horrible Shine was, how absolutely like an accessory Mizi was. It's like people who own pets and just have those pets as accessories instead of actually taking care of the pet, treating the pet like its own living being, because it is. They don't research the pet at all. They don't care about how the pet is actually doing as long as it looks cute and isn't causing trouble. And there's just like the entire idea of crushing, where I mentioned this in the TikTok video that I made, but the scene where Shine finds Mizi's mom is physically crushing her. And so I think that it's so cool that, I mean, like, not cool, like, it's not a good thing for Mizi, but, like, I think that it's very well done, in the sense that, the first thing that really crushed her was the weight of her dead mom, both physically and metaphorically. And so then she is crushed by, the aliens that take care of her. They have that power over her, and they make it very known. And so it all becomes about control. And she knows that she doesn't have any of that. And that's why when she sees ALNST, she sees that, people have a sense of control there. People can be superior. humans can be superior. Not to aliens, but at least to other humans. And she wants a sense of superiority in her life. And that's why she goes to Annexed Garden and onto Alien Stage. Because she wants to be superior. She wants to, come out on top for once in her life. She wants to stop being crushed and start doing the crushing. And so when she meets Sua, holy shit, do things change. And that's also part of where, in her, internal dialogue, she's thinking, about crushing Sua. But is she really thinking about crushing Sua? Because we see how gently she holds Sua, how much she loves Sua, we see how gently she holds Sua. We see how shocked she is by Sua's death. We see how much she loves Sua. It's very clear. It's very, very evident. And yet she's saying that mentally. Unreliable narrator type shit or whatever. I love Mizi so bad. It's genuinely. And that is where, her survivor's guilt is coming in. She's thinking that because those were the intentions that she had gone in with. Before she realized that she could love someone to that extent. Before she realized that, there were causes that she could love to that extent, such as the rebellion. Before everything. And, I don't know. I suppose that this comic doesn't have all too much to talk about compared to, the last one where I think that I could have gone on about it for hours, because I feel like this one gives more clarity than that last one did. That last one had a lot of debate over it, where I thought that it was some kind of middle ground, but it turns out it was more towards, Mizi being, I wouldn't say cold-hearted and ruthless, but, there was a part of her that was cold-hearted and ruthless. And she did go into this with those intentions. That doesn't mean that her reactions that we see her have are inaccurate, though. I still firmly believe, as I said at the start of this video, that her reactions from round 1 to week are 100% her actual real-time reactions. I think that she does actually still care about Till, despite, not liking his answer to why he likes her. I think that, she definitely still, mourned him. I think that, despite, having gone into meeting Sua with bad intentions, wanting to crush her, she, truly ended up caring about her and was broken by her death. I still think that, when she finds out that there is a way to combat the aliens who never cared enough about her to actually pay attention to her or care that she was being crushed her entire life, I think she wanted to join that cause. So, Mizi as a character, it just really did get more complex. And I'm very upset with the mass amount of people who don't care. The mass amount of people who refuse to accept the fact that she had bad intentions, that she was not a great person. And honestly, her being a great person versus not a great person is still debatable, because, we do see that scene, with that guy who accused her, of who was girls and guys can't be friends. Her immediate response is, what did I do wrong? She's immediately fawning. She is still, her instinct is and always has been, what did I do wrong? How can I help this situation? At her core, she wants to be, strong enough and smart enough and cunning enough to crush people, but she doesn't have it in her. And I think that's really interesting. I genuinely love Mizi, and I don't know that I've, ever related to a character. That's a lie. I've related to many characters more. But genuinely, Mizi is a character that I relate to a lot following this last comic. She is so interesting and so well written, and people are still stuck on her being perfect and innocent. And that drives me up a literal wall, because like I said in my last video, the critique from 2 comics ago is that she hates when people think of her as simply sweet and innocent. But that's the image that's projected onto her, and so she's gonna take it. And it's, so well done. So well done. I will also say, I saw someone talk about on Twitter how, there's not only the idea of, the aliens crushing her and she wants to crush others, but there's also the other scene where she is biting something that shouldn't be eaten, and later there's an alien biting her hair, which shouldn't be eaten. And so, this entire, relationship between, her and the aliens, or like her paralleling the aliens, not once but twice, is really interesting and can make for an interesting, I wonder what that means for the future. And also with this, for one, by the way, I saw people be like, wow, I finally understand Luka because of this new Mizi comic. A, you didn't understand Luka before? B, why are we talking about Luka? He wasn't in this comic. I understand if you're like, wow, this makes Mizi's character more interesting. I wonder how she's going to, respond to Luka in this following story. But no, you understand Luka's actions now because of Mizi's comic. I just don't get it as a sentence. Genuinely, actually, if you can explain it to me, please do. Because, Luka not only has been in it for the survival, but he also gets a sense of sadistic pleasure from it, which I'm not sure is the exact right way to phrase that, but that kind of is exactly what it is, because he plays up a show for the aliens. He knows what the aliens want, and he's going to give it to them. Mizi knows what people want, and she gives it to them. And I think that that's a really interesting parallel, I guess, foil. But Luka, I don't get how you don't get him before Mizi's comic, especially after Week. With the amount of information that's constantly coming out about Luka and the way that Luka's alien treats him, which is really freaking bad. You can tell, something I think about a lot is the top 3 article, with the aliens, of, the top 3 contestants. That is an article I think about a lot, because you can really tell the difference between the aliens. Because, there's Ivan's alien, who is, so professional, and it's obvious that they have no relationship outside of professionalism, whatever, right? And then there's Till's alien, who's being very short and angry and, obviously rude and abusive, towards Till, but, is just very short and angry with his answers. And then there's Luka's alien, who's, so perfectly crafting his words, where it's, obvious that he's, abusing or manipulating Luka, but he's crafting his words to sound nice and pretty. And it's you can tell these aliens, But anyways, TLDR, Luka has constantly had information coming out about him. And it really has always been to make you understand him as a character. Because yes, he's an asshole, but also he's traumatized. He's also in the literal world of Alien stage. And honestly, if any of y'all react better than he does, then I'll be shocked. Well, not any of y'all react better than he does, but genuinely situations change you. And I feel the lack of empathy that people have had towards every character of Alien stage is kind of wild, but we're not going to get into that right now. But yeah, the point being, Luka constantly has information coming out about him, especially Week, which was the last video that came out, was centered around him and Hyuna. So, I don't get how Mizi's new comic brought you to understand Luka, which I guess understanding a character is always better than not understanding a character. So, you know, I prefer that you understand Luka now. I just don't get it. I just don't get why you're relating this to him. You know? I think Mizi should be talked about, you know, as her own character. And obviously, you can't talk about a character without talking about their interactions with other characters. I am a firm believer of that. However, we saw this in, like, the last comic, where people were so only talking about her interaction with Till, or her and Ivan being best friends, and not at all talking about Mizi as a character, or Mizi and Sua as a duo, or anything like that. People were so focused on Mizi's interactions with the men of the show. And now, in this comic, where none of the men are even featured, y'all still find a way to bring the men into this. It's just a little frustrating, if I'm being for real. I don't know. Maybe that crash out is not for this video, but I don't know. I just had to say it. But yeah, no, there's not a lot more to say about the comic. I think that it was wonderful, and I cannot wait for Karma. Oh my god, I cannot wait for Karma. That's gonna be an insanely good song. I'm so ready for it. I hope that it's, you know, Mizi Sua. I like the idea of things being holistic. I know that there's gonna be a few more Alien Stage songs, videos, you know, but I'm really, really, I like the idea that, you know, it started with Mizi Sua. There was the Mizi Sua video, and, you know, towards the end, here's Mizi Sua again. And I don't know, I can't wait for it. I always want more Mizi Sua content. And yeah, I don't know, if anyone has, like, good Mizi Sua fanfictions, please, like, recommend me, because genuinely Mizi Sua has been on the mind since Mizi's first of the 2 comics came out. Like, I have not thought about anything else. That's a bit of a lie. I have thought about quite a bit else. But genuinely, if you have Mizi Sua fanfiction, come on. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. This video is so insanely shorter than any other of my videos, but I think that this comic was pretty cut and dry, and I don't know, just watch Alien Stage. Watch Alien Stage. Read the comics. I have the master doc somewhere if you guys need it. Thank you. Mwah.